This video is gonna get very surgical, so stay with me. But if you thought this was just about some rap beef, if you thought this was just about being the best rapper alive and it ending there, the achievements and the praise and all of that, you are completely misconstrued. Completely misconstrued. Kendrick Lamar carries a burden so heavy right now that if you paying enough attention, he's telling you how heavy this burden can be. And I think it's our job to pay more attention to these things to understand our favorite artists. So we about to get into exactly what I'm talking about. Now, I think Kendrick's overall goal, and he's been rapping about this for a while now, is to influence the unification of the gangs in California and California in general. And I think that overall the goal stretches beyond that as these things become realized, right? With that does come a very heavy burden, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the people it's connected to, why it's such a heavy burden, like, so we can understand the lyrics more and we can understand, you know, the moves and how important this time is. So now we got to talk about who I think is Kendrick's main influence, and that's Tupac Shakur. Now, most people might remember Tupac from the All Eyes on Me era, you know what I'm saying? But a lot of the music that came after his passing, and you know, some before as well, but especially after his passing, was music that was talking to people who looked just like him and lived just like him. And I think when Tupac starts to talk about, I'm going to be the one to, you know, inspire the person that might clean all this shit up, Kendrick Lamar is one of those people that have been affected by Tupac's influence to become what he has become. Because of this, we got to understand Tupac's position as well, and there's an interview that kind of explains that.
What do you mean by a code?
I organized the OGs in the East Coast and the West Coast and the penitentiaries to come up with a set of codes of ethics for criminals, you know, like we're going to be against drive-bys, kidnappings, attacks on people that are not involved with the street gang, with the drug trade, or the illegal business at all. You know, all that kidnapping and shooting drive-bys out the car, we against that. And people who perpetrate that, they have to deal with the consequences when they go to jail, because that's what's going to enforce this code and the thug life that's on the street. It's like we cleaning up the dirt.
So Tupac basically created a code, which was thug life, that essentially had all these ethics and principles that were supposed to be followed in the streets, you know what I'm saying? But the end goal is the unification, for people to come together and organize overall, you know? So that means the gangs, the whatever, and then the bigger it gets, the further it goes. Obviously, he's the son of Afeni Shakur, like this, she's a Black Panther. She was beating cases in her time, but she was pregnant with Tupac. Like, this is in his blood. You know what I'm saying? And essentially, that's how this got passed on to Tupac. Like, he grew up seeing these things. But just like the many before him who had the power to organize and bring things together, his life ended short. I have my own theories on how this took place. I have my own theories of everything that put together. I don't think it's just as simple as him getting involved with the wrong people. I think it's a lot bigger than that, because he was followed his whole life. All right, he was a target from day one. It's a whole lot bigger than that. Now, what happened with Tupac is he was able to pass on this energy and these ideologies to the next generation. And that brings me to the next person, Nipsey Hussle. Now, the difference between Tupac and Nipsey is Nipsey and Kendrick have been able to develop an actual relationship. So you could probably understand how Kendrick felt when he found out that he passed away, in the way that he passed away, and who did it. Nipsey Hussle was also an organizer. Nipsey Hussle was also a major influence where he was from, and he was doing good with that influence. And what makes this even sadder is him and Kendrick Lamar had a conversation about bringing peace within the gang communities. He was using his influence on his side, and Kendrick was using his influence on his side, and they were creating progress within that. Nipsey was another person who was influenced by Tupac, who was inspired by what he was doing and wanted to carry on this legacy, and he did a great job. He ultimately, just like Tupac, passed away in similar fashion, man. Now you can understand how heavy of a burden Kendrick Lamar is carrying, bruh. Because he's carrying the legacy of the greats that came before him. And if you listen to him rap, he tells you all the time. But losing Nipsey in this time adds it in the flesh. It adds it in the present. You know what I'm saying? And when you go to the Heart Part 5, think about it. That's imagery of I'm carrying on this legacy. You know what I'm saying? And that's ultimately the burden that Kendrick Lamar is carrying. And the crazy thing is, it wasn't even about Drake, bruh. Like, yeah, he didn't rock with Drake or whatever, but the reasons he didn't rock with Drake were so much closer to home than it was Drake. Drake was just a representation of these things. And when the culture, the culture always knew, we always knew what Drake was doing. Nobody said it really. Like, we said it, but it didn't have major impact. But we all knew. So Kendrick being able to electrify us in this way by defeating Drake pushes that unification in the first place. You see what I'm saying? Like, now people believe, like we see somebody who is of the culture beat the machine. That's basically what people just saw. Like, y'all don't understand how serious this is. You feel what I'm saying? So it's like, now he has the influence to take his influence even further as the biggest rapper in the world. And I trust Kendrick Lamar to be responsible with that. But on top of that, the burden of of carrying this and moving forward, and with everything that's been going on, for you to be in that position after losing a friend and losing an influence, like, that's the burden that Kendrick is walking around with, bro. And what's crazy is I feel like the way he's doing it, bro, especially with the Pop Out situation, the GNX album, all this stuff, like, he's doing a great job, man. He's doing a great job. Of course, there's a whole lot more work to do, but Kendrick, I think he understands that. I think Kendrick understands that very well. And with putting TDE on top, making the West Coast sound the #1 sound in the culture, putting on smaller West Coast artists, like, these are all things that personify the unification and incentivize the unification. You see what I'm saying? And I think the Super Bowl is going to be another, like, a mass level performance to push that as well. I think that's what this moment is going to be. And the final slashing of, you know what I'm saying, the dragon, Drake. You feel me? Like, that's really what this is. Thank y'all for coming to watch the video, man. I really appreciate y'all for taking y'all time. Tomorrow, I'm dropping an On the Mic performance. I got a storytelling song that y'all might be interested in seeing a live performance on. So I'm dropping that tomorrow. But yeah, thank y'all for coming to watch. And my next content video will be on, I want to say it'll be on Tupac, unless something new happens soon, you feel me? But I want my next one to be on Tupac. We're going to dive deep on Tupac and maybe talk about some of the regrets he might have had, you know what I'm saying? But, hey, shout out to y'all. See y'all.